All right, well, it is right at 1 o'clock, so I think we are going to go ahead and get started. It is 1 o'clock Central Time, so welcome to those of you that are joining me from other parts around the world for Google EDU on Air for this session here, making YouTube work better for you and your students. My name is Kyle Pace. I am an instructional technology specialist. I am coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri. I've been an instructional technology specialist for the last 11 years. I am also a Google certified teacher, and we're going to spend some time learning together about YouTube and how to make it work better for you and your students. My friend Dominique Dines is joining me live in the Hangout. Dominique is in Guadalajara, Mexico, and she's going to be helping me just monitor kind of the Q&A for when we get to that time at the end. I definitely want to allow time for questions at the end of the session. So here we go. Let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. I'm going to be doing a lot of screen sharing during this session because while I do have slides for this session, the slides are mainly just have a lot of screen grabs on them. So those are going to be for you to access mainly afterward today. So you have access to all of those as well as some other YouTube resources that I have published for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into our screen share. And let's see here. Let's go right to here. All right, so you should be seeing my screen here, and you'll see the link there to where you can get to my YouTube resources. That custom bit.ly link, bit.ly/YouTube Teachers 2014, is where you can find these slides along with some other YouTube resources that I have put together for you guys. And if you would like to tweet, if you are on Twitter, make sure you use the hashtag #GoogleEDUOnAir during the session and share out any good things that you're learning about during this session today. So I thought how we'd structure this session is that we would kind of do some YouTube 101 a little bit here at the start, create some common understanding about how YouTube functions, have some common understanding around some YouTube vocabulary that I think it's important for you to leave here knowing about today. And then we're going to start by looking at what ways we can use existing content out there on YouTube, because we know there is a lot of fantastic content, educational content out there on YouTube. We also know it's no secret that there's some not so great content out there on YouTube. So we're going to talk about ways we can maximize the use of the existing content on YouTube. But then we're going to shift our focus to you all being more creators of your own content for your students. And I think that's important because that's what we want our students to become also. We want our students to be creators of content more than they are consumers of content. So I think that's important for you to have an understanding as well of how you can do the same to create that really personalized, customized content for your students, and that puts you in a position as well to model that effective use for your students as well. So we'll just start here by talking about kind of some of the facts about YouTube. The current statistic on YouTube videos is that there are 300 hours of content go onto YouTube every 60 seconds. So just think about that for a second. That is a staggering amount of content that appears there on YouTube. If you think about it, we've probably all at one time, we've certainly watched YouTube videos, but I don't know about you, but I've gone on YouTube lots of times to learn how to do something. And our students are already doing that. They are already in that space on YouTube where they can go learn anything they want to at any time they want to. And that's a shift in teaching for us because that makes us no longer the sole giver of information, the sole giver of content in our classrooms. And so I want to share with you guys just some ways how you can maximize that content to help your students use it better. But there is a lot of great information on YouTube. Now, when we think of YouTube, we probably think of it As for a good source for funny videos, that's always a great place to go for YouTube, is to watch something funny. This is Charlie, this is the keyboarding cat. This is one of the first viral videos on YouTube. I think it came on YouTube in 2007. So there's lots and lots of very entertaining things as well on YouTube. But if you think about some of the other places we can take our students in the world because of YouTube, it's really amazing to think about. We can take our students to places like to the mouth of a volcano, which is somewhere they would otherwise never be able to go to physically, unless they know some really awesome people that could take them there. But we can take our students virtually anywhere in the world because of video, and we have an amazing ability to do that now. So I thought we would start with some key YouTube terms that I think it's important for everybody to have a understanding of. You can see those 4 terms there. We're not going to hit them all at once, but as we go through this session, we're going to be covering all of those terms. So I'm going to jump out of my slides here really quick, and I'm going to pull up, I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to pull up a video. It's one of my favorite videos to use. It's a great video, and I'm going to pause it really quickly because we don't need to watch it. I just want you guys to see it. But this was from the Frozen Planet series that Discovery Channel did a couple of years ago. And so, but when we talk about YouTube, our first YouTube term is subscribe. So if we look there underneath the YouTube video, right here underneath the title, we see that the video is coming from the Discovery Channel. So we see who owns the video right there. But then right there underneath the channel of where that's coming from, we see the subscribe button. So that allows you to subscribe to that person's YouTube channel. Anyone can subscribe to anyone else's channel. So I kind of equate that to liking something on Facebook, because if you like something on Facebook, that means you want to see more information from that person or that organization or that company in your Facebook feed. Well, the same way it works with YouTube, because remember, YouTube is very much a social network. So then if I subscribe to Discovery's YouTube channel, then that means when I go to the YouTube homepage the next time, I'm going to likely see information about content from the Discovery Channel. That means I maybe want to see new content that they have published right there on my YouTube homepage. And then there's that number right there next to the subscribe button. That lets you know how many people have subscribed to that channel. So that gives you an idea right off the bat if that's a pretty popular channel for content on YouTube. And then our next term after subscribe, as you probably saw in this list right here, is the word channel, because everyone has the ability to have their own YouTube channel. So, and it's your same Google account, remember, so everyone can have their own YouTube channel. That's where the content that you create, that you put on YouTube, will live. It will live there on your channel. So I can see Discovery is the owner of that channel, and you'll see when I move my mouse over the name of the channel, it gives me a little bit more information about that particular channel. That's also a great way to find more content from that same person or that same organization, because if I really like this video and I think, I wonder if they've produced any other content that would be really good to use in my classroom, I can click on the name of the channel right from there and be taken to their channel's page, and I have access then to all of their content. So just while also we're looking at this particular video, I thought we would kind of go over kind of the anatomy of a YouTube video here a little bit. So we have obviously our play controls here. I see that this video is 3 minutes and 28 seconds long. So here's a fun little tip though that you may not know. I'm going to move my play header forward just a little bit. Let's move it to about 25 seconds. And it's going to show me what the video looks like right at that point. So you may not know, you can make a YouTube video start at a particular time if you would like to. You can do that a couple of different ways. Once I get the video to where I want it to start, I can right-click on my play header, my little circle with the red dot on it right here. I can right-click on that, and I can choose get video URL at current time. So then that will create this link here. It appears right here in the middle, and I can take that link and then I can copy it, and then I'm going to come here to a new tab just so you can see what that looks like. I'm going to paste that link into a new tab, and it's noticed at the end of that link it says T equals 25. So that means that video is going to automatically start at the 25-second mark. So you can see when that video loads, it automatically started at the 25-second mark. So then you could give that link to your students however you wanted to give them that link, whether you push that link out via Google Classroom, whether you put that link on your Google site, whether you email that link out, put that link on a Google Doc, however you want to get that link out to your students, but then you can give them that link and you know when they watch it, that video is going to start exactly where you want it to start. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can make it stop at a certain point also, a tool that you can use for that. So over here on the right-hand side of our YouTube video is where we can add this to our Watch Later playlist. That's a playlist that's just for you, that everyone has automatically. So if you come across this video, oh, this looks fantastic, but I just don't have time right now to watch it, and you want to bookmark it and quickly save it, you can just click your Watch Later button and it'll automatically add that to your Watch Later playlist. Then you have where you can turn on your subtitles and your closed captioning. You have different play settings, and then you can go into theater mode, full screen mode, or you have, if you're using a Chromecast, which I have a couple of those here in my house, I can send this video to one of my Chromecasts right here from my computer. And then if we go underneath the video, okay, I'm going to click on Show More. We see here we have the information on when the video was published. We have the description of the video. We have how the video was categorized. And then we have a few buttons right above that. Oh, and then I should say, of course, we have the comments down below the video. Sometimes we all know, as teachers probably, if you've ever watched a YouTube video, sometimes the comments can be the worst part of the video. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can help control the comments being seen, or when you're creating your own content, you can control whether they can comment at all. So I want to make sure you are aware, of how to do that before our session is over today. So right here underneath the video, under the subscribe button, I have a few other buttons that I want you to be aware of, and this leads us to our next YouTube term. So we've talked about subscribe, we've talked about channel. Our next YouTube term that I want you to be aware of is playlist, because if I click the Add To button right here, that's going to open up this smaller window, and it's going to show me all of my playlists that I have created that I can add this video to. So there's my Watch Later playlist. I can add it to my Favorites playlist. And then I can create as many other playlists of videos as I want. So this is a great way for you to curate that really good educational content that you come across on YouTube, because you can create as many different playlists as you want. You can name those playlists whatever you want. I know some teachers that create those playlists by the name of the unit that they're teaching. You could create it by chapter. You could create it really by any organizational scheme that works for you and your students. You can create playlists, and it makes it very easy then for you to share that playlist with your students. So you'll notice I have a few playlists here, but if I didn't have a playlist created for this video, I have the option to create a new one right here from this window. So I could click on Create New Playlist, and let's say I'm doing a unit on geography unit on the Arctic. So I could call this Arctic Life, let's say. And then I have some privacy settings for this video. So this is really important. You want to know about the privacy settings on YouTube, because these privacy settings are universal. You're going to see them again here in a little while when we talk about you creating content for YouTube, because it's the same terms. You have the same choices on privacy, whether you're creating a playlist to share with your students or whether you're creating a video to share with your students. So when I click on this, my three choices are public, unlisted, and private. The default is public, so I want you to make sure you know the difference between those three. So if it's public, That means not only can anyone in the world watch it, it makes it available for anyone in the world to find. So that means it's searchable on the web. It's Googleable, or using the search box right at the top of YouTube, you can find that particular playlist that way. I can make it unlisted, which is probably the most popular choice that teachers use because they want their video to be viewable by anybody in the world, but they don't necessarily care if anybody can find it by searching for it. They want it to be publicly viewable, but they want to have more control over who sees it, because if it's unlisted, it's public, it's viewable by anyone, but I have to give you the link somehow. So I have to put the link in Google Classroom, I have to put the link on my classroom webpage, I have to email you the link, put it on a doc, however I want to get the link out, but I have more control over who sees it. And then the last choice is private. And that is just what it says. That means it is private only to you and very specific people that you share it with. Much like when you create a Google Doc, it's private to you by default until you share it with specific people. So the same way would work with a playlist on YouTube. So I'm just going to leave this marked as unlisted, and I'm going to click Create. So it's going to pop up here in the top left corner. It was very quick. You may not have caught it. A little blue bar that appeared that said Added to your playlist. And now when I go back and click Add to again, I see there's my Arctic Life playlist, and I see the checkbox letting me know that that video is on that playlist. And so you've probably already figured out I could have this video on more than one playlist if I needed to, okay? So then the question comes is, okay, how do I access those playlists? Well, I'm glad you asked that. I'm just guessing that you all are asking this in your head. If I could hear all of you said, Kyle, but how now do I get to those playlists? I'm so glad you asked that. So I'm going to come up here next to the YouTube logo in the top left corner of my screen, and I have my little menu button that I'm going to click on. And so you'll notice I have a section for playlists in that menu that appears over on the left-hand side. So you'll notice there's my Arctic Life playlist that I've created. So now I can just click on that playlist, and it's going to show me all of the content that I have on that playlist. Now I only have one video on that playlist. They would all be listed there if I had more than one video. But you'll notice this playlist has its own unique link. So, and you know it's a playlist because if you catch here, right after the .com in the address, you'll see it says playlist as part of that big long link there. So that just lets you know right away also that that's a playlist link. So now I could share this entire playlist with anybody that I wanted to. So not only could I share this with my students for them to watch a specific set of videos, I could easily share this playlist with one of my colleagues down next door, down the hall, or a colleague in another district, or a colleague or share it out with my PLN to share your playlist that you have created and curated of that great educational content. And what's great about sharing playlists is that you can save other people's playlists into your own playlist. You can make your own copy of that playlist and save it into your own. So now if this was a playlist that Dominique had shared with me, I wouldn't see this button here that says playlist settings. I would see a button here that says save, and I could save Dominique's playlists and playlist that she shared with me, and then it would put it in with the rest of my playlists over there on the left-hand side. So I've seen teachers divvy up the workload of finding great educational content by everybody creating certain playlists, and then they just share those playlists with each other. So that works really well, and it hopefully saves some time when you're creating playlists and able to share them easily and have other playlists shared with you. Now, because I own this particular playlist, that's why I see that button here that says Playlist Settings. Okay, so when I click on that button here, this is where I can come to change the privacy of my playlist. So if I do want to make it public instead of unlisted, I can do that. I can also, how do I want the ordering of the videos to be? Do I want them to be newest to oldest, oldest to newest? I can have them sorted by the published date of the videos, Or I can check this box and I could say any new videos that I add to this playlist, automatically put them at the top of the list. So you have some control over that as well. This is also where you can come. I get this question a lot, is how do I delete a playlist? This is where you can do that as well. So here's my delete playlist button right here from this window as well. So I could share playlists individually. So if I share this playlist with my students, they could just hit play all right up here at the top and watch one right after the other, or they could go watch any particular video individually on that playlist. If you really want to get crazy with the sharing, which sharing is always good, now over back here on the left-hand side in that menu, I can also click on the word playlists, and I could send you that link, or my students, and I could share out all of my videos, all of my playlists with someone that way. So I could share out every one of my playlists. I could give you the link that just takes you to all of my playlists, and then you can go to each one individually. You can save whichever ones that you want to in your own playlist. So I can share out one playlist, or I can share out all of my playlists at once. That is totally up to you when it comes to sharing out those playlists. So I want to talk about a couple of different tools that you can use for existing YouTube content that make it a little bit easier for you to share content in a cleaner way, I think, with your students. So I'm going to go back to my Frozen Planet video here. I'm going to pause that. Actually, let's pull it up separate from the playlist. So I'm going to call that up here. All right, let's get that back up, and we're going to pause it again. So sometimes when we're showing a YouTube video in class, sometimes the worst things about the video are the content. It's not the video itself, but what's happening around the video. So we talked about already, sometimes the comments can be a little dicey sometimes. And then sometimes also those suggested videos that appear there on the right-hand side of the screen. Have you ever been watching a YouTube video and those suggested videos have absolutely nothing to do with the video that you're watching? So you've probably seen that a little bit, some strangeness about that from time to time. Now, in the case of the Discovery Channel, that's a very reputable organization. They know how to properly categorize their content. And so we see all the recommended videos over there on the right-hand side are very much, we can see those are very much appropriate, very similar to the Frozen Planet video that we're watching. If you don't want kids to see any of that stuff, though, because that stuff could just, in general, be distracting sometimes. So I could either put the video in full screen, or another tool that a lot of teachers like to use for that is, let me see here. Well, let me show you this one first, actually. Let's go a little bit out of order. So I'm going to show you this tool here called TubeChopcom. TubeChop.com. And this tool will allow you to not only take all that extra stuff off from around the video, but this is the tool I was talking about that allows you to not only make the video start at a certain point, but it also lets you make the video end at a certain point. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to come back here to my YouTube video. I'm going to take the link to my YouTube video and I'm going to highlight it so I can copy it. So I'm going to copy the link to my YouTube video, and then I'm going to paste it in here on TubeChop.com. So I'm going to paste the link in. I'm going to click search. It's going to find my video. It's going to start playing, so I'm going to pause it again. And then it's going to show me, okay, this video is 3 minutes, 29 seconds long, but I don't want all of my students to, watch that entire video. So I've got these sliders on this pink bar right here underneath my video. So I can adjust those sliders so my students only see a particular section of the video. So let's say I want the video to start at the 25-second mark. So I'm going to drag that over to 25 seconds from the left-hand side. And then it's going to start playing as soon as I let go of my mouse because it wants to show me here's what the video looks like when it starts at that point. And then I can come over here on the right-hand side and I can drag that one in and I can drag that one over. Let's say I want my students to watch from 25 seconds to the 2-minute mark. Okay, so right now, then I can play that video. I can play the video like that to see what the chopped version will look like. And then if I like it, I can put a caption or a comment down here to go with it that my students will see. Or then I can just click chop it, and it's going to take that video and create a chopped version of that video. And you'll notice now that video has its own unique TubeChop link that I can share out with my students, and they will only see the chopped version of that video. Now, if you'll notice, I want to explain a little bit about how this works, because this is not making a copy of the video. This is the same YouTube video, okay? So you'll notice I've got the link to my TubeChop video right here. I've got my embed code, so if I want to embed that video on my blog or my Google site or my LMS, wherever I want to put that video, I have ways to share it. But then also right here is a link to the original video. So we're not keeping students from getting to the original video. They are still able to do that. However, we're making sure they only watch one particular section of the video as it pertains to what we're learning about in class. And you'll notice also there's no comments on the video. There's no suggested videos over on the right-hand side. So it keeps all of that nice and neat for you. Just a much cleaner interface, as it would. And then that gives you a chopped version of that video, okay? So let's go back here to our video. Let me go back here to my slides. And let's go back here to my YouTube video again. Now, I've already copied that link. Here's another one that the teachers really like to use, is a tool called ViewPure. This is ViewPure.com. And this is another great way just to remove all of the stuff from around a YouTube video. So it's going to work very much the same way. I'm going to paste in the link to my YouTube video, and I'm going to click this button here that says Purify. And then it just takes off all of the extra stuff from around the video. I have no comments, I have no suggested videos, and it has its own unique ViewPure link, okay? But again, this is the same YouTube video. It's not making a copy of it, okay? And then up here at the top, you've got a link you can click on that says on YouTube. So if you want to get to the video where it lives actually on YouTube, you have a way to do that, okay? Now, teachers will often ask me, okay, well, how do I save these ViewPure links? How do I save these TubeChop links once I've used these tools? You can't save them into your playlists on YouTube. So what I've had some teachers do is they do something as simple as creating a Google Doc as a way to kind of make a playlist for these ViewPure and these TubeChop links. So they'll create a Google Doc and they'll name that Google Doc whatever they would call the playlist, and maybe they'll include the word, Arctic Life ViewPure links or Arctic Life TubeChop links, and they will just copy and paste those links as they create them onto that document, so they have them all together in a central spot that they can access all of the time. So ViewPure is another popular one to use as well. ViewPure and TubeChop. A tool that I love that's great for students to use if they want to watch a video and take notes on that video at the same time. This is one of my favorite video tools. This is a tool called Video Notes, okay? So another site that complements a YouTube video really nicely. So when you go to Video Notes, the first thing you do is you're going to click this green button that says Connect with Google Drive. This is why I love Video Notes so much, because it connects it right to your Google Drive, and then it takes you to the Video Notes interface here. So again, it wants the link to your video, so I'm going to give it the link to my YouTube video, and I'm going to click Load Video. It's going to load my video in here on the left-hand side. Over here on the right-hand side, then I have an interface where I can take notes while I'm watching that video. So I'm going to click on Untitled Notes first, and I'm going to practice good file management, and we're going to name my note file. And then here's what's really cool. As I start playing the video, I want you to watch. I'm going to demonstrate it just for about 30 seconds on what it looks like as you're watching that video, and then at what's happening as you take notes over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. So what I want you to notice is every time I take a note over there on the right-hand side, it's time stamping where in the video it was when I started typing that note. And because I connected it to my Google Drive, here's what's really awesome. It automatically makes a folder in your Google Drive called Video Notes, and it saves those video note files, these video note files, directly into that folder inside your Google Drive. So the kids can they can start working on it, then they can stop working on it, and they can always come back and call it up and pick up right where they left off. Or if I want to think, okay, what was happening when I typed that video at 3 seconds? If I click on that particular one, it will jump the video back to that particular spot of what was happening, so I can go back, make that correlation, what was happening in the video when I typed that particular note. So Video Notes is a great tool for students to use that lets them watch a video and take some notes on that video at the same time. Okay, so let's shift our focus now. We've talked about, everything we've talked about so far is what to do with existing YouTube content. So let's talk about, creating content for students as well, because that's very important for us to create, be able to have the ability to create content for students. One of the most popular ways for teachers now to create content for their students is to do screencasting. That's a great place to start. A lot of teachers I've talked to, they don't like being on the video, but they want to create a video. Screencasting is a great way to do that because that allows you to record anything that's happening on your screen, just like in this Google Hangout on Air, which of course is a great way to create a screencast, is to have a Google Hangout on Air, because that records it and publishes it directly to your YouTube channel. But then also, you have some other screencasting tools that you can use. So there's tools like Screener.com is a great one to use. There's another one called Screencast-O-Matic. That's another great one to use that you can record. If you're a fan of TechSmith, they have a great tool. They have TechSmith Snagit, which is great, works on Chromebooks, a great screen capture and screen recording tool built right into Chrome. So you have lots of different tools that you can use to create screencasts. Sometimes that's all kids need, is they need you could make a screencast of the slides that you used in class that day. You not only showing those slides, but then you talking them through each of those slides can be incredibly helpful to a student at any level, whether that student's needing just a review, whether that student's needing remediation, or if that student's needing an extension or enrichment of some kind. It works for students at all learning levels with screencasting. Screencasting is also very popular if you're doing flipped classroom, where you're doing more of those lecture type of activities outside of class to allow more time in class for those project-based learning types of activities, more individualized one-on-one instruction with students during in-class time. The flipped classroom model can be very beneficial for your students sometimes as well. So creating screencasts can work really well. Now, tools like Screener and Screencast-O-Matic, some of these other tools, they have an option where you can publish your screencast directly to YouTube. So that is a great way because it lets you connect right to your YouTube channel. So you use the tool to record the screencast, then you can immediately send it over to your YouTube channel to then further edit that content and then certainly share that content out with your students. So if we come back here to YouTube, let's talk about where does our content live once we create it on YouTube, because everything starts, if we're wanting to put a video on YouTube, it all starts with the upload button right up here in the top right corner of the screen. So when I click the upload button, it takes me here to begin that process. So if I have that video on my computer already somewhere, I can go right here to select files to upload. I can go get that video file and start uploading that video file straight to YouTube. And remember, we talked just a little while ago, we talked about those privacy settings. So there's our privacy settings. We can pick that privacy setting for our video right off the bat and choose whether we want to make it public, unlisted, or private. We have the ability to do that right from the beginning. What I want you to notice also is over here on the right-hand side, you have other things that you can create on YouTube as well. YouTube has some fantastic creation tools built right in. I can record something from my webcam right on the fly if I want to. I can create a photo slideshow on YouTube. A lot of people automatically think video or that YouTube only does video. You can create a photo slideshow of still images on YouTube. Here's where you can start a Hangout on Air, just like we're doing right now, just like what's happening in all of these Google EDU on Air sessions today. Those are all Hangouts on Air. YouTube also has an excellent video editor built right in where you can trim out your video, you can add in transitions, you can edit multiple video files together. So if you go to youtube.com/editor, it will take you right to YouTube's built-in video editor platform, which works really, really well. I'm not going to, because of time, I'm not going to actually upload a video here during our time together, but I want you to know where that video lives once it is on YouTube, for where it lives for you. And that's our last YouTube term that we're going to talk about, and that's Video Manager, because that's where all of the content that you own, it lives there in the Video Manager. So if I come back up here to the right corner of my screen and I click on my profile picture, you'll see I have a button right here that says Creator Studio. Okay, so if I click on that, it's going to take me into the Creator Studio, and a section of the Creator Studio you'll see right here on the left is the Video Manager, and that's where all of your videos live, is there in the Video Manager. So you can see any video that I've put on here in the past. There's some videos. Oh, there's my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I will spare everyone from seeing that, but I'm not going to play that for you. But that's a perfect example. That's where all of my content lives right here, is in the Video Manager. And because I'm the owner of the content, you'll notice every single one of those videos has an edit button on it that I can click. I can click edit on any one of those videos. We'll just click on this screencast right here. I'm going to click edit. And then it's going to take me into all the behind the scenes settings for my videos. So I want you to be aware of the different things you can do with your video at this point once you have it on YouTube, because you can, even after you've pushed it out to your students and had them watching it, you can still come in here and make changes to it anytime you want to. So notice we have a few tabs here across the top. So this one here, we're on Info and Settings. And then underneath it, right here, we're on Basic Info, right underneath the video itself. So there's some really important settings I want you to be aware of right here. So this is where obviously I can change the title of my video. I can change the description of my video. Here's that privacy setting again that I can change if I need to change the privacy of my video. If I want to tag my video with certain keywords to make it easier for people to find it, because this particular one does happen to be public, I could add certain keywords to my video if I want to. But what I want you to really be aware of is not only the basic info, but this tab right here that says Advanced Settings, because there's a couple really important settings under here that I want you to be aware of that's, I think, important for teachers to be aware of when you're creating content for your students. Right here, first thing, right off the bat, allow comments. If you own the video, you do not have to allow comments on it. And it is simple as taking out that checkbox right next to the word allow comments. So you can turn the comment feature off completely. So students or just other random people or whoever, they don't have the ability to comment on your video. Over here on the right side is where I categorize the video. Make sure you categorize your videos as education. YouTube will typically try to guess what the category of your video is. Sometimes, though, it does not get it right. It doesn't automatically guess education every time. So you want to just double check and make sure that your video is categorized as education. That has some bearing also on those suggested videos that appear over on the right-hand side. Sometimes when you see the video that you're watching and those videos over on the right-hand side are just completely unrelated, have nothing to do with the video you're watching, that's usually because the video was not categorized properly. So it thinks it thinks that's correct to have those suggested videos over on the right-hand side. And then you can add things like where the video was recorded, the recording date. You have lots of other options, whether or not you want to allow people to embed your video on their Google site or on their blog or in their learning management system. You have lots of options there that you want to make sure and go through. And then you have some fun things up here across the top. I always like to show the fun things. So you have some things that you can do. You have enhancements up here at the top. So I can do autofix, I can stabilize, I can put a video in slow motion. Here's where I can trim out parts of the video. So if I need to trim the video, just like TubeChop did, but remember TubeChop was for content that you don't own. You can, that's built, if you're the owner of the video, that's built right into YouTube. You don't have to use TubeChop because if you own the video, you have the ability to do that, okay? So you have lots of different enhancements that you can put on your video right here. You have audio that you can put on your video. I love this. I think this is a really underutilized feature because everybody, sometimes you just like to have background music on your video. You don't really care about the original audio that's on the video. You just want background music. YouTube has over 150,000 free background tracks that you can put on your video. And they're all built in right here. And then when you put one of those tracks on your video, then you have, and I'm going to pause it, and then you have, notice down here below, it automatically takes all of the original audio out and it puts just the background music on, which is the slider right here that says only music. So I can adjust this. I can say favor the music, make it the original audio and the music equal. Sorry about that. Or I can adjust it to favor the original audio. So it keeps the background music a little bit lower than the original audio on the video. So you have some different, and then you can position the audio. So if you don't want the background music to start until a certain point in the video, you can have it do that. So you have lots of options with how much of the background music is heard and when it starts and when it stops in your video. And then next we have the annotations feature. This is where we can have little bubbles, pop-up bubbles of information appear. So if you've ever been watching a YouTube video and some little pop-up appeared on the video that said, for more information, click here, or please subscribe to our channel, that's the annotations feature. It makes me think of the old show on VH1 a long time ago, Pop-Up Video. Do you guys remember that show where you were watching a music video and it would pop up random facts? That's kind of what the annotation feature lets you do, because I can put in annotations in my video and I can have those pop up at any time that I want to in my video. So I've seen teachers use that really creatively by having little extra blurbs from them pop up at certain points in the video, or maybe right before a really important part of the video, they have a little blurb that pops up that says, make sure you're really paying attention in this next section because this is going to be on the quiz. Things like that, or what you want students to do, after they're done watching your video. You could have an annotation pop up that gives them directions on what they need to do next. You could have an annotation that does that. The cards feature, that's a pretty new feature here on YouTube, where you can drop in just little information cards, very similar to annotations, but you can drop in little cards of information. I can put a link to another website. I can add in a link to another video or a playlist on a card. Just let you do a few different types of information here when you go to add a card to your video. And then the last section is where you can put subtitles on your video. You can put closed captioning on your video. If you have students needing that accommodation, you can put that information on your video as well. So, whew, lots of great tools that we've talked about, talking about not only what you could do with existing YouTube content, but also creating your own content on YouTube. So I am going to stop the screen share. We're going to bring it back to me. And Dominique, do we have? Let's make some time for some questions. Do we have any questions that are jumping out at you that we could answer? Any way to eliminate the ads at the end of a YouTube video within a Google Apps environment? Using ViewPure has its drawbacks. Yeah, that is a great one. Yeah, that is a great point, I should say. So there is an extension you can put on for Chrome called Adblock Plus, which if I go back to screen sharing really quick, let me just go share my screen really fast here. And so that's this one up here in my extensions. This looks like a little stop sign right over here in the top right corner that says ABP on it. That will automatically take the advertisements and the suggested videos at the end. It automatically takes those off of a YouTube video for you. So again, that's an extension called Adblock Plus that you have to install in Chrome. But it does do a nice job with advertisements just on any website also. It does a nice job of stopping those. Can students save the notes and then share them with the teacher? Let's see. Well, on video notes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. You can create a video note. You can collaborate on video notes. So the student can there is a sharing feature that you can do. So you can share out a video notes file very much like how you just share a Google Doc. Can you prepare questions on the notes so students can answer while watching? Yeah, you definitely could. You could do that. You could the teacher would have to create the video note file and populate it with the video and the questions. And then all the students would have to make sure and connect video notes to their Google Drive. And then the teacher would have to share the video note file out with all of their students. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Does video notes work with the ViewPure and the TubeChop videos? No, it does not. It lists there, when you go to video notes, it lists all of the different video sites that it will take videos from, like Vimeo and YouTube and Coursera and Udacity, I think, or some of those other video sources. But it won't take a TubeChop or a ViewPure link. What do you recommend for not just changing the start and end time, but actually deleting those sections to create a chunked video that wouldn't allow students to view the removed parts? That's a great question. So I get that question a lot too. So if you have a section of a video that you don't want students to see, that's hard because you would have to have the original video file to that particular video. You'd have to edit it somehow, whether you're using WeVideo, iMovie, some type of video editing program. You'd have to cut that video out, that section out of the video, and then re-upload it to YouTube. So it can be done, but it's hard because because if it's a video that you don't own, probably don't want to do that. Probably do not want to do that because that would violate copyright. Can you then end a video where you want to? The question with the most votes. Can you then end a video where you want to? I'm assuming like a video that you don't own. That would be where you'd have to use TubeChop. If it was a video that you did not own, is where you probably would have to use a tool like that. If it was a video that you didn't, but then if it was a video that you did own, certainly you could trim it out from the end. Right there from within YouTube. So if a part of the video came up that you didn't intend to record, maybe you could trim that out, whether it be from the middle or from the end. Question, if you start the video from the middle, will it skip the ad, if any, in the beginning too? I believe it does. It usually does. Every time that I have demonstrated it, it never shows the ad at the beginning, but if you want just a little bit of an extra insurance policy that it doesn't, that's where I definitely would make sure you put in Adblock Plus in Chrome, so you can be guaranteed that no advertisements come on at the beginning of the video, even if you're changing the start time of that video. How is the distraction-free extension different? That's a good question. I'm not really familiar with that extension, so I don't think I'd be able to adequately answer that question. That sounds a little more like ViewPure, just by the name of it, than Adblock Plus. That sounds like it's more for just eliminating the stuff from around the video, not necessarily the advertisements at the beginning, at the end of a video. Let's see. Any other questions? Can you remove a middle piece of a video in the editor too? Yeah, if you own the video, you absolutely can. If it's a video that you own, you can use that trim tool there in the editor, and you can definitely, or you could go to youtube.com/editor and use the full-blown editing tool built into YouTube, because if you trim out a section, then you're going to have kind of what's called a hard cut from one. If I trim out a section, then when it goes from one part to the next, it's going to be like a hard cut. So then that would be where you want to put it. You could put in something like a transition just to make that look a little nicer when it goes from if you cut out a particular section. Can you mute the sound and enable students to describe it in their own words, like recording themselves? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think. I don't believe there isn't anything built right into YouTube that would allow a student to record on top of a video. You could, now for you guys as the teachers, there's a tool that will allow you to do that that's called Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle.com will let you take an existing video and it has a narration tool built in, so you could narrate on top of that video. So a student could do that, or the teacher could do that. There's also a tool called, let me think, which is another website. There's a tool called Vocaroo that I recommend for students or for teachers to have students use. Sometimes it's vocaroo.com, VOCAROO.com, and it lets students just do a really quick web-based recording. And when it's done, it has a link that they can then share out with whoever they want to share it out with, or they could download that audio file once they record it. So a student could probably do that while they're watching a YouTube video. How do you approach IT to get YouTube open to students? Oh gosh, this is, yeah, I know that's still very much an issue. The last I heard that YouTube is trying to kind of rework the education version to make that a little more, I guess, IT friendly. But I haven't heard anything real recently on that. Because I know it can, like for example, in my district, we have it shut off for elementary students. We do have it open for our secondary students. But it is a little tricky. It's just, I think really, if you really focus it on the teacher being the creator of the content, and teachers need, and that's a great place for teachers to put their content, not only so students can see it, but also so parents can see it. I think if you come at it probably from that angle, I think you're going to have a lot more success with getting that opened up in your school district. Let's see. Say your students have to make a comment on your videos. If you want to use that very same video next year but don't want last year's comments viewable, would you have to upload your video and set up options for it all over again? No, you definitely would not. You can go in there. You can actually, there's an option. I I talked about just turning comments off. You can also moderate the comments so that if you're the owner of the video, you can give students the ability to comment, but then those comments have to be moderated through you first. And then, of course, since it's your video, you have the option. So from year after year, for example, or semester after semester, you can go in there and clean off those comments. So then the next time you use it with students, they wouldn't be able to see those previous students' comments. That's a good question. If I created a video that was over 2 hours and it's posted to YouTube, is there a way to trim? Ooh, that's a long video. Yeah, absolutely. I would just trim it right there within YouTube. I would just use that trim button when you're there in the Creator Studio. Where we were just a little while ago, I would go into the Creator Studio and then into your Video Manager, remember, is where all of your video is going to live. And then if you hit that edit button on that video, then you're going to get, and then you go to Enhancements, that's where you're going to get that trim button, is in the Enhancements section when you go to edit that particular video. I would just do it right there from within YouTube. Are you familiar with Save Share? I believe that may be able to give you a link like TubeChop. Yeah, SaveShare.tv, I think, is the resource that question is speaking to, which is very similar. Yeah, it would be similar to ViewPure. I know a lot of teachers use SaveShare as well, where you could, and yeah, I'm not terribly familiar with SaveShare, but I don't know, so I don't know if it prevents students from being able to see the whole thing. I think the whole thing with ViewPure and TubeChop, how they're able to have those sites is because they don't prevent you from seeing the entire video. Since you're doing something with content that you don't own, they are required to give you a way back, to give credit back to that original content, even though you're modifying it in a certain way. What age can students add videos to YouTube? Well, that's it's their Google account. So if the student has a Google account and YouTube is turned on for that Google account in terms of Google Apps for Education, they're able to put videos on YouTube. So you see videos all the time of students of all ages putting videos on YouTube. You know, my kids watch content all the time that's been created by students their age. So yeah, you can. It's easy for any age to put content on YouTube, that's for sure. All right, so we are right at the end of our time, I think. So I am going to wrap it up. Dominique, thank you so much for helping with the questions. And I appreciate so many of you. Gosh, there's a lot of you guys watching. So I thank you guys so much for joining me, for learning more about YouTube. I'm an easy guy to get a hold of. Please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Google Plus or email me. All of my information is on my website, including the resources to this session. So thank you guys very much, and I will see you all again soon.